and happy month of October, aka the month of Halloween, from Seth Xenomon official. And I'm sure someone else is giving it, but I couldn't find the suggestion, or the person who gave it to me. Slappy Dummy from Goosebumps versus Charles Foster Ray, aka Chucky. And look, they're two possessed dolls, more or less. One's a ventriloquist dummy, and one is a Mr. Good Guy. No more Mr. Good Nice Guy or Good Guy. One was the serial killer. The other was, I believe, just the magician. Although the origin has changed for Slappy a couple times, from what I understand. Both are looking to kind of be free in their own way. Chucky looks to possess people, although he's kind of given up on that, to be honest. He's trained in voodoo, able to even play the game. Let's hide. We're gonna play a game called Hide the Soul, and because he can transfer his soul into other bodies if he needs to. Hence why he's in a Mr. Good Guy a body at the moment. And I think it was, what was it, Chucky? Was it Seed of Chucky? Where he kind of just embraced it, and then we got Curse of Chucky, Cult of Chucky, all that afterwards. Because it was like for the first Child's Play 1, 2, and 3, Bride of Chucky, the first 4 movies, he was trying to get a body back. But then Curse of Chucky came after that, didn't it? Either way, Seed of Chucky is where he, there you have the kid. Anyway, so he's got the ability to displace his soul, all that, if he needs to. And I believe the show has probably elaborated on this to a certain degree, although I have not personally watched the show myself. If we were going with the most recent reboot of Child's Play, where it was the robot, we'd be having a different conversation, really. But he's most famous for wielding a knife, but he can wield any weapon. Really, though, this fight wouldn't come down to weapons. Slappy Dummy, apparently, he's always been depicted as evil, wanting to, turn worlds and dummies, either repossess or not have. I don't know if his goal is to leave his body, but he wants to kind of enslave people to do his bidding. Like, he enjoys being immortal, he just doesn't want to go back to sleep. The way Slappy kind of comes in the world is if you read the note in his pocket. And apparently reading it backwards will put him back to sleep for good. He's also afraid of termites, which is great, wonderful, but not relevant to this fight. The problem with any time Slappy Dummy is going to be thrown into a fight is that his powers, what he may or may not have for powers, is shown to be wildly inconsistent. There are some iterations where he really just doesn't have any powers, and some where he has a butt ton of them. The ability to turn inanimate objects into dummies, to animate other dummies, to shoot laser eyes, to hypnotize people, telekinesis, ice powers. He's displayed God knows how many actual abilities overall. And that lies the problem. Like, if we're just using base Slappy with no real powers per se, just being evil, maybe some mild suggestive capabilities. This is a battle of attrition that's no one's going to win. This is a complete stalemate. Because Slappy, quite frankly, isn't going to be able to do much to Chucky unless it's going to be like a Home Alone scenario where they're in a house, traps are set up, and that they all know about the traps are trying to set the other one up. The problem is Slappy being mystical gives him the ability to kind of survive things he shouldn't survive. He can kind of always come back unless you were to use some greater magic on him, or something that could actually bypass the magic in general, or just remove the magic. Whereas Chucky, despite the fact that he is probably the more prolific of the two, he's also for lack of a better term, squishier. I mean, figuratively and literally. His doll body is much softer. It can take a lot more when I say take, I mean actually take damage compared to the Slappy. So if these two end, he tends to bleed, because his soul is merged with the doll body. It kind of has become his body. So he actually bleeds. He has, organs, all that, but he can survive being just a head, for God's sake. So yeah, it's one of those things where Chucky does not have a very good avenue for beating Slappy. Slappy, however, if he doesn't have his powers, also doesn't any of his like serious powers, doesn't really have a good way of beating Chucky either. Even if you gave him some of his powers, Chucky's not someone who could be hypnotized, at least not by Slappy. I don't think that would work. But things like telekinesis, that could work. Laser vision, that would work. Turning him into a dummy, that probably wouldn't work in Slappy's favor. Because now Chucky would actually have a larger body that's arguably more durable. Mind you, it's probably not magically enhanced like Slappy's is, but Ventriloquist dummy is probably far more durable than the doll body that Chucky possesses. Because Chucky's soul would still be in there. The only avenue Chucky really has for victory, in my mind, would be somehow imparting his soul into Slappy. The problem then becomes, though, he's got to now duke it out in Slappy Dummy's body for control over the dummy. It's basically a battle of the souls. Whose soul is stronger? And I'm going to tell you right now, it's probably Slappy. Slappy has endured for, like, his origins have changed, but Slappy has endured for much longer, literally, than Chucky has, and he's been able to keep coming back. Mind you, though, Chucky has been able to literally split his soul into other bodies and been perfectly fine, which tells you that his soul can be torn apart, but rebound as long as there's enough there. So it actually might give Chucky the edge in a battle of souls, because his soul can actually take more of a beating, maybe. We don't actually see that kind of fight happen for Slappy very often, where like his soul is at risk. But Chucky, we've seen that he can tear his soul off, spawn a new Chucky, basically, and be good to go, and just recover from that. So if that were to happen, I actually would have to, I got to backtrack on what I said, I'd actually give that to Chucky. But this is a big if. He'd have to figure out a way to trick Slappy into a trap, then start reciting the words for the spell, and then he'd have to pray that Slappy, knowing Miss Some Magic himself, wouldn't be able to just counter it. This is all assuming, by the way, that Slappy doesn't have any of his main core abilities, or not main core abilities, but extra abilities that can cause damage. Because if he's got any of his extra real dangerous abilities, Chucky's effed. There's no getting around it. Chucky is not winning that fight. But yeah. Either way, that's my thought. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I would take Slappy 95 times out of 100. There is, though, that 5%, but again, that depends on the version of Chucky, or Slappy, sorry. In a fight with Slappy versus Chucky, where Slappy has no powers, I would actually lean maybe just a little bit on the side of Chucky. Chucky also spends more time just out in the real world, so he's got more actual physical experience in his environment, too, versus Slappy, who spends a lot of his time sleeping through the ages. So, in that sense, I would actually lean towards, just slightly towards Chucky. It's not a big lean, just a little bit. But if Slappy has all or just a large portion of the powers that are listed, yeah, that's Slappy, 100%. So, that's my thoughts, though. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.